Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Liberty Weekly podcast. I am your host, as always, Patrick McFarlane, and this is episode 79 of the podcast. The show notes may be found at libertyweekly.net/79, along with the embedded video version. And for the first time ever, the Liberty Weekly podcast will also be available at the Libertarianinstitute.org under the podcast page. And that is my very exciting announcement that I previewed on the last episode of the show. Very excited about that. So with this episode, I will be addressing two audiences. That will be, one will be my old audience, the regular audience of the Liberty Weekly podcast, and the other will be whoever stumbles across this on the Libertarianinstitute.org in the podcast section. I'm very, very excited. This is a big step for the show. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Patrick McFarlane. I just graduated this May from Mitchell Hamlin School of Law in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm a new attorney. I will be taking the bar exam at the end of July. Very not too excited about that, but I'm excited to start practicing. I also want to bring my law degree to the Liberty movement, and in doing so, help out the Libertarianinstitute.org and try to lend my expertise, so to speak. Even though I am a new attorney, I need some experience, but I wanted to help the Liberty movement in any way that I can, and in having the Liberty Weekly podcast featured on the Libertarianinstitute.org and having Scott take this chance on my show and featuring my show, I just really appreciate it. So right off the bat, thanks so much, Scott. It's such an honor. So the Liberty Weekly podcast started out as a blogging site in 2016. In July of 2016, I did blogs. I did a bunch of different features for a year. And after a year of doing that, I decided I wanted to start a podcast. And I wanted to help. It's always been bringing, the legal sphere to the average American. And what I've realized in doing the show for the last year, there's 80 episodes. What I realize is that the average American is woefully ignorant when it comes to how the court system actually works. They don't know about jurisdiction. They don't know where to find persuasive authorities. They don't know really the first parts, the very basics. So as a part of my show, maybe one of the biggest missions is to really just educate the average American about how the court system works and give you a fundamental understanding so that you can figure it out yourself, so that you know how to read cases, and so that you have a conception of how jurisdiction works in whether it's the state or the federal courts. One thing the show is not legal advice. It never consists of legal advice. This is purely for educational purposes only. Again, this is not a show for the libertarian novice. There are other shows for that. Other friends I have in the Libertarian Union who have shows that are geared toward the libertarian novice. This show is about, like I said, educating you about the legal system. It is also about analyzing current events. I've done things with Supreme Court decisions, or I've done specific case studies of cases of police brutality that I've picked apart. I've also done just larger legal theory. I have episodes on how the court system could work in a stateless society. I have episodes on Lysander Spooner, on jury nullification. I have episodes on the Magna Carta and understanding the Magna Carta and putting it in place, understanding its place in liberty. There's a lot to explore, actually. There's 80 whole episodes, and I wanted to take you through that as well. So here I'm going to show you, if you're watching the video version, I'm going to show you my webpage here at libertyweekly.net. That is the webpage. There you can find all 80 episodes under the Liberty Weekly podcast, or if you go to the master episode list, which I'll take you to in a moment. But just going through the website here, here's an episode I did on the foundations of real property law, present and concurrent estates, just going through the different types of ownerships, interests that you can have in property in our Western legal system. I interviewed Rayford Davis about the moral injury that police officers suffer with state-based policing. That was a great episode. Rayford Davis is tremendous. He's been on the Scott Horton show and with Mance Raider. I discussed the SCOTUS ruling that legalized gambling in a video episode. So there's lots to explore. I won't go through all of it just for the sake of time here. But you can explore all that at libertyweekly.net. So very excited about that. So what's in store for this week? I'm going to be interviewed by Vinnie Marshall from Think Liberty. That's happening on Sunday, so that interview will appear this week. I usually do about 2 interviews or 2 episodes per week, maybe 3. This week I'm also getting in touch with Kyle Anzalone, who is the other member of the Libertarian Union, which I'll explain the Libertarian Union. But he is another member of the Libertarian Union that is being featured on the Libertarian Institute in the podcast page. And Kyle's a good friend of mine. He's a frequent guest to the show. He runs Foreign Policy Focus on the Libertarian Institute. So we do foreign policy stuff every 2 weeks. And I try to do legal theory and foreign policy stuff because war and peace is the most important issue. As Scott and Ron Paul have stated, I definitely agree with that. So I do cover foreign policy. Kyle comes on the show and we do visual aids, just explaining, where all the action is taking place, for lack of a better term, in Syria or Iraq, talking about Iran. This week we're going to be talking about FBI entrapment schemes, and I'm going to be talking about some court cases involving entrapment. It should be really good, really interesting content. So just in closing here, I wanted to introduce myself. I think I've done that, show you the Liberty Weekly podcast, give you a taste of the content that I cover. I guess now I should explain my ideology, where I'm coming from. I am a libertarian Rothbardian. I'm a Misesian or Austrian school of economics. I'm a voluntarist, an anarcho-capitalist. I believe that the state should not exist. It is an immoral institution of institutionalized aggressive violence that has no place among civilized people. I'm trying to, explain how things could work possibly without the state, how we can do these things peacefully with peaceful cooperation, relying on Bastiat's his great insight that there's 2 ways to organize society. There's there's just people interacting voluntarily, and then there's coercion. You can either acquire things by homesteading them peacefully and trading the things you peacefully acquired voluntarily with others, or you can turn towards violence and coercion. And that is, the state is inherently violence and coercion. So that's where I'm coming from. I'm a product of Ron Paul, the Ron Paul 2012 movement. I came in at the University of Minnesota. I was a member of YAL. I came in the crater left by the 2012 loss, by the backstabbing, if you will. And I've been working towards liberty ever since then. And I'm very excited. I am so glad that Scott took this chance on me to become a part of the Libertarian Institute. Just very excited about the legitimacy that brings me, and I really just want to make it better. I want to help spread liberty. So the ways that you can follow my work, I'm on every social media site: Facebook, Twitter, Minds, Steemit, Gab, all the alternative platforms. So if you type in the URL like facebook.com/Liberty Weekly, that will take you to the Liberty Weekly community, or twitter.com/Liberty Weekly, youtube.com/Liberty Weekly, bitshoot.com/Liberty Weekly. I'm also on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher. You can find those badges on my website at libertyweekly.net. You can also subscribe there. If you go to libertyweekly.net/iTunes or /Google Play or /Stitcher, it will take you there. I will also have links in the show notes page, and you can see my website in the video version currently right now. So you can follow me on all those places. Also, I have to give a shout out to my friends and compatriots in the Libertarian Union. We are a group of independent podcasters that have banded together to help point audiences towards other shows, towards independent people who are doing this on their free time. And there's a thriving grassroots community of independent libertarian podcasters and bloggers. It reminds me of the pamphlets in the American Revolution. And that's what I try and embody, a decentralized, grassroots, bottom-up community of people spreading the ideas of liberty in their spare time. People just like you and me. Here are some of the shows that we feature at the libertarianunion.com. If you go there, it will bring you here. We also have a roundtable show that we do. So shout out to my boys, all my friends, guys that have been supporting me. Really rising stars in the liberty movement you'll find here. Stephen Clyde of the Peace and Liberty podcast, Mike Tilden at Battle for Liberty, Dan and Robert from the Actual Anarchy podcast, Don't Waste Your Hate, Tony Rockamora and Invalid Beard. Also Wizardly Wisdom, my friend Trey and Subversion webcast. You know Kyle Ancelone and Foreign Policy Focus. I think I mentioned Stephen Clyde over at the Peace and Liberty podcast. He is he's getting his master's degree in econ. He's an Austrian economist, so he's an up-and-comer too. Luke Tatum in Culture of Peace. He just started his show. Nick and Liz of Sounds Like Liberty. And we have some new shows joining as well, ones that you'll find through my podcast. And so there's that as well. Now, so please explore that. Take some time to explore my show at the Liberty Weekly podcast. But also ways that you can help support my work. If you find what I do valuable, I have hosting fees. I'm not running in the red currently. I'm currently in the black. But I'm always looking to invest in more equipment or improve my hosting packages. I have, like I said, hosting fees to pay. So if you go over to patreon.com/Liberty Weekly, you can find some great bonuses like access to my personal meme cache and also access to the Rothbard repository, which is an indexed and searchable cache of Murray Rothbard lectures. So you can search it by topic. It's really great, put together by Daniel over at Actual Anarchy. You can get that at the $10 a month access. There's also extras, show extras, and early access you can get. So check that out over at patreon.com/Liberty Weekly. Also, there's my Amazon affiliate link that you can find in the horizontal search bar. Or by going to libertyweekly.net/Amazon, doing your regular Amazon shopping, and I will get a small commission with which I use to buy some books and educate myself and then bring that to the show as well. So, like I said, those are the ways to support me. Also, subscribe to the show on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher. Leave me a rating and review. That really helps me get more exposure. And I'm so stoked. I'm very glad, again, that Scott was willing to let me join the Libertarian Institute. I'm very excited. I have a lot of projects planned. And, yeah, just looking forward to it. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. And I look forward to bringing the Libertarian Institute some more great content and legal analysis. So, yeah, thanks, everyone. And I'll be in touch in the next few days. Keep an eye out for my content.